One man is behind bars accused of running a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise by stealing new car parts and then selling them.
We first told you about this story last night at 10 after Dearborn police raided two auto repair shops.
Fox 2's Ingrid Kelly explains how officers believe the parts ended up stacked in those shops.
Breaking. Ford just discovered that trusted employees stole enough F-150 and Bronco parts to build 400 complete trucks. $8 million vanished from 3 different plants. While you were being told parts are on back order, those exact parts were being sold on eBay by Ford's own workers. This isn't just theft. It's the biggest automotive inside job in history. A true crime thriller, and it explains why you can't get the parts you need. Here's what really happened. The multi-million-dollar disappearing act. Picture this, a Ford plant in Michigan, a fortress of steel, automation, and precision. Thousands of workers, cameras everywhere, every part tracked and scanned. It's supposed to be one of the most secure manufacturing systems on Earth. But inside that fortress, a small group of insiders allegedly found a way to game the system, walking entire truckloads of high-value parts right out the gates like it was business as usual. This wasn't a one-time job or a random act of greed. For more than 2 years, an organized network allegedly siphoned millions of dollars in components straight from Ford's core manufacturing plants. The Dearborn truck plant, the Michigan assembly plant in Wayne, and the Flat Rock assembly plant. These aren't just any facilities. They build the crown jewels of Ford's lineup, the F-150, Bronco, Ranger, and Mustang. They weren't stealing small stuff. This crew went big. Hoods, bumpers, fenders, even entire lighting systems, and high-tech electronics like ECUs, digital dashboards, and steering columns. You can't hide a Bronco hood in your lunchbox, but they didn't have to. With insider access, forged documents, and fake shipping manifests, they simply loaded real Ford trailers with stolen parts and drove them out the front gate. What looked like routine deliveries was actually one of the boldest inside jobs in automotive history. By the time investigators caught on, warehouses across Michigan were stacked to the ceiling with brand new F-150 and Bronco parts. Millions of dollars worth of stolen components that were supposed to be on vehicles rolling off Ford's assembly lines. And the fallout? It's massive. Those stolen parts didn't just disappear. They flooded online black markets, making it even harder for legitimate customers to get replacements. Repair delays stretched for months. Artificial shortages drove up prices, and frustrated Ford owners were left wondering why they couldn't get the part they'd already paid for. This wasn't just a theft. It was a surgical strike on Ford's supply chain, exploiting the same logistics systems that power modern manufacturing. It's a wake-up call for the entire industry, because if it could happen inside Ford, where else is it happening right now? The betrayal. The hidden danger inside every factory. So, who was behind this massive heist? It wasn't a crew of professional thieves breaking in from the outside. The alleged ringleader was a trusted insider, a former Ford employee who knew the system inside and out. In May of 2025, after a months-long investigation, the Dearborn Police Department, working with Ford's own global security team, arrested 4 men connected to the scheme. This former employee's insider knowledge was the key that unlocked the whole operation. Working in a modern car plant gives you a unique look at its weaknesses. You know the shift changes, the security patrol routes, the camera blind spots, and most importantly, the flaws in the giant, complex inventory system. When you're tracking millions of parts for thousands of vehicles, a few missing components can easily get written off as shipping errors or supply chain hiccups. And he allegedly didn't work alone. The investigation led to 3 other arrests, who police believe were part of the distribution network. The scheme was classic. You have the insider who gets the goods, and then you have the network on the outside that moves and sells them. The stolen parts were allegedly funneled to third-party auto repair shops in Detroit. These shops acted as fronts, a place to store the massive haul of stolen goods and get them ready for the next step, selling them online. The 4 men are now facing a list of serious state-level charges, including grand theft, racketeering, and operating a criminal enterprise. These aren't just slaps on the wrist. Racketeering charges are specifically used for prosecuting ongoing criminal organizations, which shows how seriously law enforcement is taking this. The investigation is still ongoing, and police have hinted that more people could be charged as they untangle the entire network. This whole case is a perfect example of the insider threat, one of the biggest security challenges any big company faces. You can build the tallest fences and install the fanciest cameras, but none of it matters if the person you've handed the keys to decides to rob the place. This brings up a huge point about trust. These weren't just random parts, they were valuable components for some of the most popular vehicles on the road. The fact that they were allegedly being sold on sites like eBay is shocking. So what do you think? Would you ever buy a brand new car part like a bumper or a digital dashboard from an unofficial seller on eBay? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, if you're finding this story as wild as I do, hit that like button and subscribe. The inside job, how they pulled it off. The biggest question in all of this is how? How does someone walk out of a secure Ford plant not just once, but over and over again for 2 years with bulky items like hoods and bumpers? While police haven't laid out every single detail, the investigation has painted a pretty clear picture of a well-run scheme that exploited weaknesses in the system. It all started with the insider. The former Ford employee allegedly used his knowledge of the plant's logistics to get his hands on the parts. A modern factory is a beehive of activity. Parts are constantly moving from warehouses to the assembly line on forklifts and automated carriers. An employee with the right credentials and a good excuse to be somewhere wouldn't necessarily raise any red flags, even if they were redirecting a pallet of headlights or a cart of Bronco fenders. The thefts happened at 3 different plants at the same time: Dearborn, Wayne, and Flat Rock. This suggests a pretty deep understanding of how inventory was tracked at each location. By spreading the thefts out, the losses at any one plant might have been small enough to fly under the radar, getting lost in the noise of normal shrinkage or damage rates. It's a death by 1,000 cut strategy. A few missing parts here, a few there. Individually, they look like minor clerical errors, but together, they add up to a multi-million-dollar heist. Once the parts were stolen from inside, they had to be moved. We're not talking about stuff you can hide in a backpack. We're talking about parts that need a truck to haul. The employee would allegedly leave the factories with truckloads of these parts. This points to a major security failure at the gates. Were they using fake paperwork? Were security guards not paying attention? A truck leaving a Ford plant is a normal sight, and with the right documents, real or forged, it might not have set off any alarms. From the plants, the stolen parts were taken to at least 2 auto repair shops in Detroit that served as warehouses and distribution centers. This is where the next phase kicked in. The parts were cataloged and prepped for sale on one of the world's biggest online marketplaces, eBay. By selling on eBay to an audience of buyers, collision centers, and repair shops, all looking for genuine factory parts at a discount. The choice of parts was also incredibly strategic. They targeted components for super popular vehicles like the F-150 and Bronco, which guaranteed high demand. They also stole high-value electronics like ECUs and digital dash clusters. These have been notoriously hard to get because of the chip shortage, making them worth a fortune on the black market. The thieves weren't just stealing parts. They were capitalizing on a global supply chain crisis to make as much money as possible. Caught red-handed, the day it all got exposed. Every great heist has a turning point, that moment where the criminals get a little too greedy or make one dumb mistake. Here, it seems the scheme started to unravel when Ford's own internal systems flagged some major irregularities. Ford's management reportedly noticed unexplained shortages in high-value inventory, and as those numbers grew too big to ignore, the company's global security team launched an internal investigation. This is where the digital breadcrumbs started to lead back to the source. Ford's security team likely dug into inventory logs, employee access records, and security footage. They would have been looking for patterns. Which employees were on duty when valuable parts went missing? Were there any unusual truck movements? At the same time, the sheer volume of brand new Ford parts showing up on eBay from a few sellers in the Detroit area would have been a massive red flag. Ford's security team took their findings to the Dearborn Police Department, kicking off a months-long joint investigation. This partnership was key. Ford had the internal data, and the police had the power to get search warrants and make arrests. The whole thing came to a head with a series of dramatic raids in May of 2025. Police hit 2 homes, one in Dearborn and one in Canton, and most importantly, the 2 Detroit auto shops being used as fronts. The scene that greeted officers was jaw-dropping. Dearborn Police Chief Issa Shahin said one warehouse was stacked from floor to ceiling with brand new auto parts. The first police team showed up with a single van to collect evidence, but they quickly realized their mistake. The amount of stolen property was so huge they had to call in 3 massive shipping containers to haul it all away. Inside they found everything: hoods, bumpers, headlights, taillights, all allegedly waiting to be sold online. The raids led to the arrest of the 4 main suspects, including the former Ford employee who allegedly masterminded the plot. The 2 auto shops were shut down, and Chief Shahin has said authorities are working to see if they can close them for good. The mountain of evidence, from the parts themselves to the digital trail of online sales, forms the foundation of the powerful racketeering and criminal enterprise case being built against the suspects. The 2-year party was officially over. The fallout. why it matters to you. So if you guys allegedly stole some parts from a multi-billion-dollar company, why should the average person care? The truth is, a crime this big sends ripples through the entire auto industry and can hit your wallet directly. First, this exposes a massive failure of security at a top automaker. For 2 years, this ring allegedly operated without getting caught, stealing huge, valuable parts from 3 separate plants. It raises serious questions about Ford's ability to track its own inventory and secure its facilities. In response, Ford has said they are cooperating fully with law enforcement and reviewing their security protocols to prevent this from happening again. But the cost of those security upgrades and the cost of the theft itself doesn't just disappear. As Chief Shahin pointed out, these losses are inevitably passed on to consumers through higher prices. When a company loses millions to theft, it hits their bottom line, and that loss is often recovered through small price increases on new cars and official replacement parts. We all end up paying for it. There's also the direct impact on Ford owners. The theft of critical parts, especially ones already in short supply, can make it even harder to get new vehicles or find parts for repairs. If you've been waiting months for a part to fix your Bronco, it's infuriating to think that the part you need might have been stolen and sold on eBay. It creates an artificial shortage in the real market while fueling the black market. And what about the people who unknowingly bought these parts? If you got a great deal on a new Ford bumper from an eBay seller, you might have been buying stolen goods. Those parts have no warranty. If a stolen electronic part fails, you have no one to turn to. Even worse, installing a stolen part could potentially put your vehicle's factory warranty at risk. This case is a huge wake-up call for the entire industry. The black market for auto parts is a multi-billion-dollar problem, but it's usually tied to car theft and chop shops. This was different. This was an inside job, proving the threat can just as easily come from within. It shows the urgent need for better tracking, stronger oversight, and a culture where schemes like this can't survive. Trust is vital, but as this case proves, trust alone is not a security plan. $8 million vanished from Ford's factories while we all watched prices skyrocket. These thieves didn't break in. They clocked in. And somewhere right now, another insider is probably doing the exact same thing. Have you been waiting months for Ford parts? Drop a comment below if this scandal affected you. And if you enjoyed the content, smash that like button. Share this with other Ford owners. And subscribe for more auto content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.